Hello and welcome back to the Jerusalem Post. I'm your host, Jake Laznik, and I'm joined today by Uri Gruenbaum, the founder and CEO of TipRanks, a leading fintech company revolutionizing investment insights. With a BSc in computer engineering from Hebrew University and an MBA from Tel Aviv University, Uri has combined his technical expertise and business acumen to build a platform that empowers investors with data-driven decision-making tools. Beyond TipRanks, he's also an angel investor in fintech startups, supporting the next wave of financial technology innovation, and he's here with his unique experience of both entrepreneurship and investing to give us his perspective on the fintech landscape and the role of AI and data analytics in shaping the future of finance. Uri, thank you so much for joining us today. Let's get started.
Thank you
So what initially drew you to this? How did you get into this bichlal, and how did your background in computer engineering shape your approach to investment?
Before I even started studying computer, I learned how to invest in the capital market. I did that when I finished my military service. And I found myself surrounded with friends and other people that shared the same interest with me, which is to research companies and decide where do we want to invest. Obviously, it was on very small amounts back then. Fast forward 10 years, I found myself working in a high-tech company and looking on where do I want to deploy my yearly bonus, and found myself following a bad advice online, which, because of my engineering background, led me to think about a product that would help me avoid getting bad advice. I looked at it from an engineering perspective, and how can we, back then it was a browser add-on, so how can we create browser add-ons where people share the content that they're reading, and slowly we can analyze who is reading better advice and not so good advice. And eventually it evolved into a company where we raised capital and built the company.
So it isn't just a simple equation. There's a lot of personal experience that's gone into building this.
Well, to start with, there's a lot of passion that led to start this. There is some personal experience, both on the first of all, passion to this space, but also passion to entrepreneurship, and of course, a lot of software understanding.
So what made you decide to pursue an MBA after your computer engineering degree? And how did that level up your career as opposed to just approaching a bachelor's?
So when I studied computers and then I worked as a software engineer for I think 7 or 8 years, it was pretty clear for me that sitting and writing code wasn't what I was meant to do. I always felt that I'm much better in building relationships and marketing and sales and thinking about the future. And I had some friends that did an MBA at one of the colleges here in Israel, and I joined them for a few sessions to learn from, many times they bring the market leaders to come and talk to inspire the younger generation. So I joined
Of
that.
course.
And when I did my computer engineering, one of the courses that I took was entrepreneurship. And the last year you get to choose some fun courses as well. And I knew that the best place to do an MBA in Israel in terms of the teachers and in terms of the network is at Tel Aviv University. So I joined that, and it kind of inspired. I actually started the company while I was doing my MBA, and I knew that there were probably a lot of parts that I was missing in terms of how to build a company. From, basic things on how to incorporate a company and what's important to understand in terms of the legals of starting a company, to understanding taxation and understanding marketing and understanding, how to analyze opportunities. And so I think that the fact that I took an MBA really pushed me to go ahead and build a successful company.
Wonderful. So piggybacking off of that, what is something that you feel that Tel Aviv University specifically gave you that you don't think that you would have gotten anywhere else? And how did it prepare you for building and scaling TipRanks?
To start with, not many, but some of the people that studied with me are now senior executives at TipRanks. You get to meet a lot of great people from different backgrounds, not just computers. So, our COO, for instance, who is the most senior manager at TipRanks, studied with me at the Tel Aviv University, and it was clear when I studied with him that I want to work with him because he was like the number one in our class and always understood everything. And when you're an entrepreneur, you sometimes mistake to think that you know better than everyone, because you make a lot of mistakes and you learn from them. And so bringing talented people from the outside many times help you with conflicts. So, I mean, if I have any dilemmas with my CTO, who's also a co-founder and I studied with in my first degree, I know that he's probably right. I know that because we objectively measured that in a different framework. And it's the same with the person with Barak who studied with me at my MBA. I know he's smarter and more capable. And so many times when we run into a conflict, I don't immediately assume that I know better. And that is very important. It's one of the things that no one talks about. But I gained a lot of knowledge, and it's pretty cool because we started the company, we're a few people sitting in a room, and then I'd go once a week to complete my MBA, and I'd come back with a lot of ideas on how to do better marketing, how to do better sales, how to understand how a P&L should look like. And the professors that we got, these are people that are top notch. It's the same people that are now, uh, leading the regulation in Israel are the exact same people that taught us in the university. So what did I get? I got a lot of knowledge, I got inspiration, and I got a great network. Honestly, when I
Amazing.
started the MBA, I was under the impression that I'm going to meet a lot of people that are going to hire me, but it ended up that I hired the people that worked with me, which is just as good.
Life is funny like that.
Yeah.
Amazing. And I want to go into fintech a bit since you're the expert with your unique perspective. How do you see the evolution of AI in fintech today, in Israel and in general, and what innovations excite you the most personally?
So I think everybody understands that AI is the most important revolution in our lifetime. And then I see it in fintech in every potential aspect. We're specifically in the wealth tech, which is one big niche inside fintech. But in our space, for instance, I see AI as a infrastructure to help you personalize the way you want to build your future. How do you want to invest? Where you want to invest? Investing isn't just in the capital market. It can be, in high bank interest. It's around diversification in terms of geography, in terms of different assets, and no one knows you better than yourself in your AI. We're in the business of creating interactive research for retail investors. We look at ourselves as a platform that levels the playing field for the average investor. And the fact that institutional investors have access to all these analysts from the Goldman Sachs of the world, and now suddenly you can create the same level of research at a zero cost based on knowledge, I think that's very disruptive, and that's what excites us as a company. But it's not just that. I mean, we're seeing AI. First of all, it's accelerating internal processes. It's accelerating the speed that it takes us to go out with a new version. It improves the content, the marketing materials. It helps us to study competitors. There is a lot of aspects that AI is changing our space. I will say that it's also a big advantage for competitors. Like it reduces the barriers to enter into our market. And
Right.
so we're very focused on how to create moats and how can we excel in an era where developing complicated algorithms is becoming much more simple.
Going off that train of thought, I think you would agree with me also that, AI is evolving rapidly. It really is a technological revolution that's advancing at a pace a lot faster than more things that we've seen historically. So how do you kind of handle this rapid advancement that people can't seem to kind of get a grasp of and adjust to as it's constantly evolving? How do you apply that as it goes? And also, what does this look like for the future of your company? What are some future projects that you're excited about because of the capabilities of AI and how it's evolving so fast?
So, I mean, the only thing that we can really do about the speed that AI is advancing is to have people, study it, learn, and bring ideas. There is a lot that we don't know, and I think that no one can really guess where AI is going to get us, even, not in 50 years, maybe in 2 years. Um, what we're doing about it is we're creating analyst research based on AI. We're simplifying complicated things based on AI. So, for instance, we have this cool feature that reads all the news, all the research out there, and simplifies it into what you need to know. What are the positive factors about an investment? What are the negative ones? We are being very careful not to cross the line of giving investment advice. So that's another challenge that we have because we launched a chat, for instance, based on AI that we trained. And most of the questions were, what should we buy? And we don't want to be the company that tells you what to buy. We want to be the
Yeah, right.
company that gives you the truth in the face, but doesn't give you advice. Um, so, I mean, we're mostly focused on simplifying research for AI, taking, moms and pops in North America and showing them that, they basically have access to the same level of information that Bloomberg users have,
Right.
which is a very expensive product. Um, I will say that AI eventually is only as good as the data that it has. So if you have, one LLM that has access to unique data sets that, can give you value, and then you have another LLM that doesn't have it, the first LLM is going to perform much better. So we're very
Right.
focused on getting proprietary data sets and making sure that whoever works with our AI has a big advantage of users that work with other AI. And that reflects in our M&A strategies. We're looking for unique companies that have unique data sets. And in the way that we make our data visible to our users, so they always get more than an average user with a chat GPT or one of the chats that you see out there.
So I want to talk about fintech in Israel. So currently we are in a ceasefire in an ongoing war. And I'm wondering how the war and other either economic or political challenges are affecting Israel's fintech sector, and what opportunities or challenges do you see ahead because of?
So I think there's no question that the war impacted the morality of any employee in Israel, fintech or not. And companies like us had to deal with, first of all, how do you position yourself globally? I mean, there's so much hate toward Israelis and Israeli companies. Do we want to do we want to show out that we're an Israeli company or not? And of course, you have important employees that were called to serve. So suddenly a lot of areas that were supposed to evolve in the last year kind of halted. I will say that after October 7 went out, we did a lot of posts about how we support Israel and that our heart, I mean, we have offices around the world, but it was very clear to all our employees where we stand, the global employees. And on social media, we made it kind of clear on where we stand, and we paid for it. Like we had a lot of people leaving our social media pages because of that. But I mean, obviously, the future of Israel is more important than anything for me and for us. And um, we are very happy that we're now seeing much, much better days. On the business side, like in terms of our P&L and our expectations, it didn't really have an impact. We had an amazing. I mean, there's a dissonance here. Last year, we had the best year ever, the most profitable year, more than we expected. And on top of that, we were acquired. So there was a big dissonance between, um, how the company performed in terms of, a company and how we felt inside where our heart was with the hostages and their families. But we're overcoming it. And, like every downtrend, now we're experiencing a very strong uptrend.
So I just want to ask one final question, maybe leave some of our viewers with advice. So AI is a very expansive, rapidly evolving thing that's kind of hard to grasp. You're both the founder and an angel investor. So what advice would you give to startups who are looking to integrate AI and data analytics like into their financial products? Where do they start? How do they tackle it? How do we zoom in and make sense of the craziness which is AI?
I don't think that there is one single startup that I met in the last year that isn't building something around AI. I think that it doesn't make any sense to build something that isn't related to AI, either a cyber product, a wealth product, or anything else. It's like, being in 2000, year 2000 and building a startup that isn't around the internet. Like, why
Right.
would you? I mean, it's so obvious this is a future. Um, The only advice I would give is to build something that you can explain why there is a moat around what you're planning to do. Why is it something that, the average ChatGPT or Gemini or one of those can't easily replace? Because what happened uh, in our space, is that you had a lot of social media for investors. A Twitter for investor, a social network for investor. And eventually, the big social media networks, the Twitters and Facebooks of all that, they simply, stole their thunder. So it's just a small niche inside them, but that's where all the investors are going. So if you're building something, try to understand how you're avoiding being beaten by the big companies. Like have something that's proprietary, build stuff around communities, which is something that AI is having difficult to replace. And try to raise less money, because one of the things that AI gives you is the ability to develop something for much lower costs. 12 years ago, we raised $400,000. That was our seed investment, and it got us into becoming a profitable company. Today, if a company isn't raising 10 million in seed, it's not even getting, a headline. So, and there's a price for that. When you raise more money, then either you're diluted, or you need to make sure that your next round justifies a much bigger valuation. These are two complicated challenges that many times first-time founders don't think about.
Wow, amazing. All right, well, Uri Gruenbaum, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you, and good luck.
Thank you.